minus 10, 9, 8, 7.
We know that the landscapes of our organizations are shifting, that their internal architectures are starting to redraw themselves. We feel it, we know it, we experience it every day. As hierarchies lose their ability to hire, as chains of command lose their resonant links, as patriarchs make way for upstarts who become upstars and leave the fray. Who are the new leading lights? Who will lead the way? Who will change themselves, charge themselves, and immerse themselves in other elemental currencies before they affect others on the way? On a power that is light by nature, bright with stature, but contains no statues, covets no statutes, no titular statements, but just wants to emerge, embed, enlighten, with 5 elements that hold conductive sway. With a different orientation, a subtle persuasion driven by slipstreams, polarities, fractures, harbours, and a mantra. Me to we, me to we, me to we. Renewed each day, renewed in every stage they help create, as luminaries now light the way.
It's so good to be here in Vienna, not far from where my grandfather, Upsi, was born over 100 years ago. I would climb this steep flight of stairs up to the door of his architect's studio, and the door would swing open, and there in front of me was this beautiful wood-paneled room. A large, huge wooden table covered with paper scrolls, piled high with files, metal cabinets everywhere. Even the metal cabinets looked shiny and special, leaning against the wall. The whole room smelt of Upsi's pipe. And fine leather. It oozed craftsmanship. Upsi lived and breathed work. And I fell in love with that world. I was hooked by that world. It was a world that I wanted to fall in love with. And I did. I fell in love with the idea of work. And Upsi saw me at the age of 4, and he showed me how to sharpen the pencils, and that was my first job, sharpening pencils, and I was kept highly productive. Through Upsi, I learned that work was beautiful and an experience to be treasured as a gift. But just a few years later, my father's work as an accountant had taken us to Paris, London, and New York. And I would watch him as he put on his suit and tie in the morning, polished his shoes, often cheerful as he turned around to give me a hug goodbye. But then at night, he'd return, twisted, his face contorted, his eyes distant and pained, almost blind to us. His expression was so alien to anything that I'd ever seen, anything that I could understand. It frightened me. Watching my father collide with that world day after day frightened me. But eventually, more than feeling fear, I became curious. What had happened to my father? What do people really do at work? What had the office done to him? These are the questions that propelled me into the world of work. And I believe today, too many people are being drained by the world of work and missing the chance to make it a vibrant collaboration. I've worked with countless organizations around the world. I've had to discover what makes them tick, how their leaders lead, and to get a sense of what it's like to breathe and live inside them. I meet organizations full of intelligent people, people of heart, talented men and women from the boardroom to the factory floor who are proud to work for their company, passionate, willing to give everything to their role. And I usually respect and admire what they've built and what their predecessors have built. But then I notice clever people who are anxious. They're riding an emotional roller coaster, screaming inside, and it's exhausting. It's like sitting on a fault line day after day, trying to hold on to your core identity, and it can be crushing, no matter how great your leadership. I think all of us know firsthand that we're living in a time of organizational dis-ease. That's what it feels like, doesn't it? That's what my father was responding to. Only now, it's much more complex, and it's getting worse. I believe the biggest threat to organizations today is not the external competition, not technology, not the startup that launched yesterday. It's this organizational dis-ease, and it comes from within. And if it's not new and it's spreading, I think we need to look at it from a different perspective. Like a biological disease, I believe these 5 symptoms are draining organizations of the elemental power they need to adapt and thrive, draining people of their creativity and the sense of agency that my grandfather had. I call this the dis-org chart, and you're the first to see it. And what is it for me that created this disorganization? Structure. The very thing that organizations do best. As a coach, it's conventional wisdom to focus on your client's strengths so that they can play to them. But also strengths, because taken too far, become weaknesses through overuse. And that's what I see leadership doing now, in organization after organization, in their struggle to become stable and grow. More pillars, verticals, silos, reporting lines, when the world is actually like this. We're telling people to work like this, collaborate, pull together, in a structure that's actually like this, and where that structure keeps on changing all the time. For the team that has to do the work and attempt collaboration, that can feel an impossible ask. How? They say. There's no time, they cry. It's a breeding ground for conflict. You can feel the distress, the confusion, the fear behind people's frozen eyes. And that makes it hard to be present. We're disconnected, especially with ourselves. We sit hour after hour in a merry-go-round of meetings until we're stiff and tired, almost drained of oxygen. It's hard to be swift that way, let alone innovate. No wonder we get edgy, look for reasons to distract ourselves, and hide. Many people simply leave. 53 million people in the United States are now freelance. That's a lot of people. That's almost the entire population of the UK. And increasingly, many refuse to join, or join and quickly leave. The bottom line is we're too focused on the bottom line and missing the big picture. Organizational dis-ease is eroding progress, eating away at value, and exposing companies to harmful risk. So what to do? We really do need organizations to make the world go round. And I don't know many companies who are going to tie up the org chart and tear it up. Well, if organizational dis-ease comes from within, I believe so does the answer. There's a new type of leader who's needed now, and I've seen them. I call them luminaries. They can help remove dis-ease and help companies find their elemental power and competitive edge. Today, I work with a leader, a managing director, who's done just that. He's sharing his power in a way that brings out the elemental power, the life force in others. When he walks into a room, you can feel the buoyancy in people. Shoulders drop when he speaks up. He's driven, but not at the expense of being playful. If you were sitting in that meeting, you would feel the connection, the respect and ease and safety people feel with each other. In his meetings, decisions are made swiftly in real time because everyone speaks up. They've learnt to listen to each other. They listen for what's emerging, and they're comfortable working at that edge without a plan. Their conversation breathes, it builds, and it leads to meaningful action. And when people leave the meeting with him, it's like they're lit up, they're vibrant, they're full of courage. And they carry that with them into their conversations and meetings with others. You can feel it. The organization is becoming nourishing, it's becoming connected, it's alive, and it produces an outcome that even the most cynical observer cannot deny. So the question is, of course, how do you spot a luminary? Well, they are all around us, and in fact, just sometimes invisible to leadership because their essential qualities are not being recognized, acknowledged, or measured. But they do share 5 elements. You can tell that they are at home in themselves and that they have a home, a harbor, where they refuel, where they feel safe, and a harbor that keeps them honest and humble and stops the power they have at work from going to their head. These change agents are not afraid to share their story. They don't hide behind a mask of affection. Quite from it, they let people see in. They let people see their fractures. They share the whole kaleidoscope of who they are so that others can do the same. You could say they welcome the relief of being ordinary. Luminaries know how to navigate a system, but they're not trapped or stifled by it. They can slipstream across boundaries, moving in and out of different power bases with a freedom and an ease. They're willing to cross the unknown because they believe in the common good. They know that they are the fabric of the organization, as is everyone else, and they're not interested in being a maverick or going it alone, so they take responsibility for making it whole. They use their time differently. They put relationship before task. They can chat to the same person on the production line or the top investor with the same simple qualities that make partners of them both. And they're not afraid of difference. In fact, they respect it. And they accept that some people will not understand their vision and it will polarize opinion. So these are luminaries. And you want to know, where are they? Well, they exist within your organization, and you may even know one. Do you know, for them, everything is about sharing. They talk about together a lot. When I meet them for the first time, they don't talk to me about numbers. They don't talk to me about the work. They describe building something great together. And they're happy to follow, even if they're right at the top. Luminaries show us that, in fact, it is possible to share power. That's the big subject today in leadership. How are we going to share power? Well, they show that it's possible to dance between independence and interdependence. They've learnt those skills. And when I'm around a team who's worked with a luminary for a while, I feel lightness and ease. I see a vibrant force, and it's beautiful and effective. So how do you spot a luminary? Well, I said, how do you spot a luminary? For them, a luminary, it's also about, I said it's about being together. Without becoming elemental, and that's the question. Luminaries, like a very good manager who might be solving your worst nightmare, or the local leader who's not willing to play the game, but is absolutely willing to deliver the best results, or the financial expert whose story you can remember. They have a freshness to them. You can feel their elemental power. It rubs off on you, it brings out the best in you, and it makes it all glue together. You know you can count on them, and they know they can count on you. Isn't that what we should be looking for? Leaders who make leaders of us all, leaders who make work joyous, as it was for my grandfather, and not brutal, as it was for my father. Without becoming elemental, organizations have no edge. They cannot be competitive. What if becoming elemental was the first step towards becoming competitive today? If that's the case, how valuable are luminaries? Let's find them. Let's surround ourselves with them, so our companies can succeed, but so that the communities they serve can succeed, because that's what the world wants from them now. And the answer really is already within your organization. All you have to do is stop, look, and listen, and let luminaries light the way. Thank you.